What up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about 7 things to ask for when you send a validation letter. When you get a letter from a collection agency and they tell you to respond within 30 days, unless they consider that you owe the debt, you need to send a validation letter. It's really important that you send it within the 30 days because if you don't, you lose some of your rights when you're trying to dispute that account. So make sure you respond within the 30 days that they send the letter, and you want to send a validation letter. And within the validation letter, you want to tell them that you disputing this account, and you want to ask for 7 things when you're doing it. When you send a validation letter, you don't want to just send a letter and be general, because they can respond general. But if you be specific, that's the key. You always want to be specific. When you be specific, then they have to provide all of these things to you, and if they can't do it, then they can't validate the account. So I'm gonna just go off the list. I'm gonna have a list in the description. I know you probably can't see it that good, but I'm gonna have a list in the description. Let's just go with number one. Number one, what is the money for that you say I owe you? So you want to ask them what the money is for that you say I owe you. So if they brought a debt or brought an account, okay, what is the account? Is it a credit card? Is it a store merchant card? Is it a car? What is the money that you say I owe you? What is that money for? So number two, you want to say, explain and show me how you calculated what you say I owe. So you saying I owe 5,000. How did you come up with that number? How did you calculate it? Show me and explain to me where you get the number from. Number three, provide any papers that show I agreed to pay what you say I owe you. So you need to provide to me anything of me saying that I agreed to pay you that. How you saying I owe you something if we don't have a contract saying that I agreed to pay you? Number four, provide verification or any copy of any judgments you have against me. You saying that I'm supposed to pay you. Do you have a verification on any papers? You have a judgment against me when you went to court? Show any proof that you have. Number five, provide me any proof of who owns the debt. Because whoever owns the debt, that's who you owe. So if you saying that I owe you, prove to me that I owe this to you. You have to prove that you own the debt. So number six, prove the statute of limitation has not expired on the account. Every state have a statute of limitation to where a collector can collect debt on you or can sue you. So you can just research in your state. A lot of them 6 years, some of them less than that. You just research your state and see. You have to provide to me that it hasn't expired, because if the statute of limitation has expired, then you can't collect on this debt. And then lastly, provide the person's agreement of the debt. Like you said, if you're saying that you brought the debt and let's say they trying to charge you $5,000, but you have a person agreement from, let's say, a credit card, Wells Fargo, American Express, and the purchase agreement say that you purchased this account for $1,000. Well, I only owe you 1,000 then, not 5,000. I owed American Express 5,000, but they charged the debt off as bad debt, and you brought the debt with a purchase agreement, and you brought the debt for $1,000. So that means I only owe you 1,000. You can't charge me 5,000 if you only brought the debt for 1,000. So they have to give you a purchase agreement. So the whole thing about it is, all these things, they're not gonna provide to you. They're not gonna show you no purchase agreement. And a lot of times, the original creditor, they have in a disclosure when they buy the debt that they're not liable, they're not 100% accurate on the information that they're giving to a collection agency. So let's say I'm American Express. I'm gonna have in the person's agreement that I'm not liable for no information I'm giving you that is accurate, and you can't come back to me saying I did anything. They pretty much taking themselves out of it, and you just buying the debt. So in the person's agreement, they're not going to provide that for you because they're going to have in the purchase agreement that American Express said that they don't know if this information is 100% accurate. So how can you verify it? So you have to make sure you send this validation letter 30 days in the time frame that they tell you to do it, or you lose some of the rights for asking for these things. So that's why it's important that you send the letter within that time frame. So just let me know what you think. Comment, like,